Greetings from Bulgaria. Sit back and prepare because this is possibly going to be a longish video. More or less about 20 minutes I predict, but we won't know until I finish it. So the purpose of today's video about Shadow of War is an in-depth video look and suggestions, tips and ideas about the skill tree. I'm going to try and tell you as much as possible about each one of the skills in the different trees, how they work, what upgrades you can purchase, how upgrades work and everything else. Let's start from the basics. In Shadow of War, Talion has the capability of choosing as many skills as he wants, but basically the game will allow you to unlock absolutely all of the base skills and absolutely all of the upgrade skills. There are no different saves in Shadow of War, which means you can't actually build different Talios in different builds. You have to, within your one game and one save, you have to actually be able to switch between builds, because one build can never actually lead you from the very beginning until the very end, especially if you play on the hardest difficulty level. There are 3 difficulty levels in case you didn't know in Shadow of War, and the easy one is just a breeze to get you through the story, which is really good, but not the strongest part of the game. And not its strongest feature, I mean. The normal difficulty is really similar to what you might remember from Shadow of Mordor, if you have played it, of course. And the Nemesis difficulty is an interesting challenge, provided the game actually requires you to have at least 40, 50 or maybe 60 hours to complete all of it. If you're an achievement hunter, the Nemesis difficulty will add at least another 20 or 30 hours to that, because it's quite challenging. You have to pay really good attention to all of the strong sides and weaknesses of your opponents, and you really need as many of the skills unlocked in all of their upgrades. How you unlock skills? By playing the missions, main missions obviously, by leveling up, and by playing side missions. Many things in the game reward you with skill points, and you will definitely find yourself no short of skill points throughout your leveling process. In another short video, well, short, 10 minutes long actually, I have provided my suggestions and tips regarding the early game, what skills you should pick when you're beginning, because the game allows you to pick any skills from any tree at any given point, provided of course you start from the left side, because that's the rule. You have to build from the left side to the right side, and you need to unlock the base skill before you can unlock the next base skill. Some of them will be locked behind main story progression missions or some kind of achievements related to side missions, which is actually good from certain point of view, because this means you wouldn't actually waste a skill point. Let's say you are able to unlock Undying Loyalty, and then later on you realize, oh crap, I could get that one for free from just doing these and those missions. No, that's not the case here. If a skill is locked behind the yellow icon, you're not able to earn it any other way unless you do the achievement or the mission behind it. Now let's start with all of the skills and their upgrades. I'm going to actually try to do it as detailed as possible, but also not waste too much time. Execution, extremely important for early game, and its upgrade are its best upgrade for me especially is called Fatal Might. In some cases you might want to unlock Grim Resolve. The third one is called Secret Might, and it's just not too appealing for me. Really important to have execution. Another quick tip that I've mentioned in the other video as well is, I think I've mentioned it here, but who cares? Make sure to unlock first as many of the basic skills available to give you just options while you're playing the game before you start altering with upgrades. The next one in the combo tree is called Perfect Counter, and if you count it properly, as you can see from the animation on the screen, it actually allows you to do to perform better if you counter at the proper time, which is when the sign goes blue. The available upgrades are Rain of Arrows, my favorite, Mighty Reversal, gain might from each counter, really useful when you're inside an assault fortress or defending a fortress. The third one is called Fatal Counter, because the well-timed counters, if you press the button when the icon turns blue, you can instantly kill enemy grunts, but again, it's ineffective against captains and beasts, and grunts die pretty much from just looking at them, so it's not so much of an advantage. Critical Strike is the next base ability. Melee attacks have a chance of causing critical hits for additional damage. My favorite upgrade is called Elven Precision, because by pressing the default attack, as you strike lands, greatly increases your chance of critical strike. The other two available upgrades are called Unstoppable and Reprisal. Next base skill is called Ground Finisher, allowing you to finish your opponent when they're on the ground much quicker, which means it lowers the ground execution time required. And I'm combining that with Fury. Ground execution enables you to unleash a flurry of blows by rapidly tapping the main attack button before finishing an enemy. It doesn't actually do more damage, or at least I don't think it does. It doesn't seem to do more damage, but it gains you might as you do that. Of course, you can be interrupted, which means that the ground execution will not be completed. And of course, if you do get interrupted, you won't get the full benefit from this. But in most cases, you are able to finish it with plenty of time left, even if you are surrounded by enemies. That's how dumb most of the grunts in the game are, at least on the first two difficulties. On Nemesis, it's a little bit different. The other two upgrades available are Wraith Shield and Ground Drain. Brutal Aggression is a useful and interesting skill, but I personally consider it more or less situational, because it doesn't exactly give you any kind of advantage, unless of course you're surrounded by grunts and you want to scare them off. The one upgrade I have makes this ability really useful, because skills that require might no longer fully deplete might. Wow, an amazing one to have, really good one to have. And the last one I picked up after level 40, because it's that unimportant to me. Retaliation. Time your last chance success perfectly to instantly kill the enemy targeting you. It doesn't apply to captains, grogs, and drakes. Yep, that's how uninteresting that ability is. If you upgraded it with Burst of Might to gain full might on a perfect last chance is when you press the button inside that highlighted area, which is the outer circle. Then you get full might, which is good. The other two upgrades are called Vengeful Drain and Adamant. Let's move on to the Predator tree. The first base ability is called Elven Agility, and it's more or less not as appealing as it used to be in Shadow of Mordor, because now you have other means to quickly travel around using focus, for example. Its upgrade that I'm using is called Silent Runner, and by holding spacebar to sprint no longer creates sound. Useful to not draw unwanted attention. The other upgrade is called Spectral Dash. Brutalize allows you to perform a terrifying stealth kill, causing a nearby enemy to flee while increasing both your might and your hit streak. That's useful actually, but again more or less situational. The upgrade that I'm favoring is called Unyielding Ferocity. Using Brutalize gives a bonus to your might and the hit streak, as opposed to the normal base ability. It actually gives you more of those. The other upgrade available is called Reckless Hate. This is a useful one, Poison Tendril. If you upgrade this skill to any of the three possibilities, because the skill on its own allows you to poison a barrel from distance, and with the other two you're able to actually spread the poison in whatever way you want. However, I'm opting for the proximity trigger, which is kind of different, not exactly related to poison, but I find it more useful to me. Aim at Morgul flies, cages, and bite, and press G to prime. G is the default PC keyboard shortcut, to prime them for trigger when an enemy approaches, which is a trap, time delayed trap. Moving on, to the Wraith chain. Pressing the left mouse button to target an additional enemy during a stealth kill. Each additional target consumes focus. This is quite useful if you are on a mission, for example. Otherwise, I don't know. There are missions that require you to kill, if I'm not mistaken, it's always the same amount, 5 enemies in stealth within 1 minute, and this makes it so much easier. The upgrade that I'm opting for is called Shadow Blade. The other one is Monster Hunter. Deadly Spectre. Holding down G while using attract, to leave behind a Wraith that will kill your target. This is also very situational, but it's really fun to watch, especially if you're hanging from a ledge. It's quite a fun attack to have and use. The upgrade that I'm going for is called Spirit Drain. Your Wraith will drain its target, which is, yep, useful. The other ability is Terrifying Presence, and in this case, your Wraith will brutalize its target. I'm not a huge fan of brutalizing, I don't know why. That thread is something, if I'm not mistaken, you're going to unlock through a specific main story mission. And that allows you to use a worm to deliver a message to a specified captain, letting him know that you're coming for him. This improves your chances of forging high quality gear after killing the threatened enemy. Why? Because when you death threat a captain, if I'm not mistaken, they gain 5 levels. Was it 3 or 5? That's something I forgot at the moment. The 2 upgrades available are worse than that if you want to make them go crazy, with a slight chance of making them even more dangerous by becoming maniac. And the other one that I'm currently using, as you can see from the screen, is called Vow of Violence. A bonus objective is added to the dead threads because at the end game you do need those bonus objects. Time to move on to the range tree. Starting on with Detonate, available very early on and important early on in the game because it will allow you to clear areas of grunts very quickly and very efficiently. And also most of the captains in the low level gameplay don't have fire proof, which means you can nearly kill them with one fire explosion. The 3 available upgrades are Bursting Arrow, which allows you to explode the fires just like you did in Shadow of Mordor from distance, instead of just jumping into the fire and into the middle of the bundle. The second one that I'm currently having active is called Spider Song, allowing you to spawn spiders from the fire. And the third one is called Matron Scent, which is similar to spiders, but instead you're spawning those little cute ghouls. Free Spin is an extremely situational but very useful sometimes ability. Unfortunately, because it's down to in my priority list, I have to waste a point to reach more interesting ability, which is the next one. However, let's check out the available upgrades. Brutal Code allows you to freeze nearby enemies and make them, well, you freeze one of them and the rest will flee scared off. You can use Savage Eyes to affect Olog-hai if you want, but I don't know if I've ever seen Olog-hai running away. However, Free Spin does have other benefits rather than just stopping someone from running away. And then you have Deep Freeze, which doubles the duration of Free Spin. Now this Bird of Prey is a really good ability, and I suggest unlocking it as soon as possible when you start the game. Holding the right mouse button on PC to slow time and aim while in the air. This consumes focus, of course, and using the upgrade Eagle Sight allows focus to be consumed at a slower rate, and I mean really slow. Wow, you have so much more time using that ability. That's why I believe that Talon Strike is so very inferior. Of course, if you like explosions and lightning explosions, or light explosions I should say, you can opt for this one. Mighty Shot, extremely useful for probably later game, because the 3 upgrades that you have available, Firestorm, Freeze Blast and Venom, just by their name you should be able to tell what happens. Mighty Shot is when you press left control to fire an explosive shot when your might is full. This is something that you can and probably will use against many kinds of captains in the game. The last and really good skill in the range tree is called Shadow Strike. Unfortunately, this is also very useful, and why unfortunately? Because it's the last one in the tree, meaning you have to spend 4 skill points at least to unlock that. But it will also allow you to clear off enemies that you don't like when they're positioned where you don't like them to be, and even more so because it will allow you to move quicker through the terrain. Sometimes it's actually more useful and easier to travel with Shadow Strike instead of calling a mount. The 3 available upgrades are Chain of Shadows. The Shadow Strike pull is the one that I'm currently opting for, but I'm not using it really that much. And Shadow Dominate is quite useful, but as you can see, I haven't actually unlocked it in this game save yet. I'm recording this video about a week after the release of the game, so yes, I haven't finished it yet. The grind at Act 4 is really interesting. Time to talk about the Wraith skill tree. Forgive me for probably pronouncing it wrong, I never learned how to pronounce Wraith. I believe it's Wraith, not Rat. Anyway, The first one you have to unlock is called Brace of Daggers. This is not amongst my favorite skills, but it's probably different for some of you. The 3 available upgrades are Serrated Edge, which allows you to fire them quicker. The Swift Barrage, which allows you to fire... this one allows you to fire them quicker. This one allows you to have a critical hit with them, and the third one is allowing you to throw 5 daggers at a time. This is actually useful against some arrow-proof captains, for example, or war chiefs or something else, because it will still give you a chance to slow them down for a moment. The second ability is called Elven Light, and it's one of the good or better abilities to unlock early on in the game. Its available upgrades are called Cleansing Blaze, Winter's Breath, and Poison Blast, depending again what you're doing, who you're facing, and what their weaknesses are. I suggest you unlock different... well, you have to unlock all of them probably, but you have to switch between them and use them properly. Ice Storm, my favorite by far ability. Thankfully, it's slightly changed from the Shadow of Mordor because it's an Ice Storm now. You're freezing enemies instead of dazing them. It looks cooler, and the sound effect is really more different. But all of the 3 upgrades, Shower of Ice, Frostbite, and Shattering Blow, are useful in different scenarios, depending again what the immunities are of your captain or war chief or overlord opponents. But Ice Storm is one of the abilities I highly recommend you to unlock as soon as possible in the game. Probably one of the very first abilities you're going to want to have is this one. Moving on to Consume. When your might is full, you can drain an enemy quickly during combat. I personally don't use that too often, but that's probably situational based on your skills, based on your needs and desires. The upgrades available are called Chain of Souls, Lord of Wrath, and Olog-Lord. Now this is useful for me. Sometimes I want to dominate Ologs, and this ability allows me to do it. Moving on to Treasure Hunter, it automatically allows you to collect loot from defeated enemies. I cannot believe how much quality of life improvement this skill actually provides. It's not high in the priority list for early on upgrades or actually unlocks, but it's so good to be able to just walk through those, especially when you are in the middle of a swarm and you have like 20 grunts and several captains or war chiefs swarming around you. This will just allow you to go near the special item. We don't even need to click it and just collect it. The upgrade that I'm going for is called Mind Breaker and increases domination speed. This is also very, very useful, and it saves you time and trouble when you're dominating grunts or even captains. The other 2 available unlocks are called Discerning Eye, and this one is gated behind an achievement. It's called Prospector. The last one is called Raise Dead. It's a main story locked ability, and it allows you to resurrect fallen grunts around you. They have to be fallen, and they have to be in a certain radius around you when your might is full. The available upgrades include Death Throw, which allows you to raise Uruk-Hai, Undying Beast, which obviously allows you to resurrect Caragors and Goose. No Graugs, unfortunately. And the last one is gated behind, again, a mission, not so much an achievement, Undying Loyalty. This is really good to have unlocked, but unless you're high enough level, you might actually find it difficult to be able to complete the Fighting Pits champion level. Let's go over the mounted skill tree, because some of these things are really good and really interesting to have early on in the game. How many times have I said that during the video? Caragor Rider, you should unlock that as soon as possible. Dominating a broken Caragor is one of the most important abilities to have, both as low level Talion and later on in the game, especially if you are in the middle of siege or assaulting fortress, and you want to just have easier time without all those Caragors just stalking around and bothering everybody. The 2 available unlocks are called Pounce and Bestial Rage. As you can see, I haven't unlocked any of them because I don't really need them. The second one is Graug Rider. It allows you to dominate and ride a broken Graug. However, It takes rather long to break a Graug unless of course someone else broke it for you. That's why I'm not a huge fan of Graug Rider. Plus, they're gigantic beasts. They do move quick. Yes, that's not an issue. But they're sloppy. They're turning slowly. And it's... I don't know. It's fun to see Graug eating a grunt. But it's not my favorite thing in the game. The available upgrades are called Devouring Force and Enduring Fury. If you like playing with the Graug, these upgrades are actually very useful. Then, this is an unbelievably good quality of life unlock. Call Mount, allowing you to summon a dominated Caragor, which means pressing just one button on PC default combination. Key is 1. You summon a Caragor and it's already dominated, which means you don't summon and then have to dominate it. It's already dominated and you can just jump on it and go do your business. The unlocks available. Dark Caragor unlock. Obviously, you're summoning dominated Dark Caragor. They are more stronger and better than the normal Caragors. I don't think they're faster, but maybe you can prove me wrong. That's something I haven't actually researched and investigated. The next ability allows you to summon a Graug. Yes, that's a way to summon Graugs and get past the dominating phase if you want to ride a Graug. But again, Caragor, for me, is the option to go because they feel more agile than a Graug. Again, the speed is not an issue. It's just at the size of Graug. And the last one that you might want for a later game when drakes become a thing is the Dragon Song, and you can summon a Drake. The next main or base ability is called Shadow Mount. Unbelievably good and useful. However, because it's 4th in a row in the mounted skill tree, I can't really claim this one to be early game unlock because there are so many more that actually take priority before this as your early level. It's more like an early to mid level priority skill tree. It allows you to instantly mount a broken Graug, Caragor, or even a Drake. And of course, for Drake, you have to unlock the Dragon Song, the Dragon Rider, upgrade first. The available upgrades are called Caragor Breaker and Packmaster. And now we arrive to Dragon Rider. You can hold E on PC to dominate and ride a broken Drake. And I believe this one is locked behind story. Yes, it should be. The upgrades available are Scales of Iron, and this is the one I'm opting for. My Drake takes far less damage from attacks. If you don't opt for that skill, you might actually find if you're sloppy and careless, and if you don't kill your opponents quick enough from the ground, they actually drain the health of your Drake quite fast. Controlling a Drake in the game is a little bit tricky at first, but when you get used to the controls, you can actually tweak most of them, if not all of them, from the in-game menu. You can be really powerful from up top. The other upgrade is obviously called Soaring Rage. This allows us to finally go to the story tree. Some or most of these abilities will be unlocked automatically for you as you level up, as you do main story progression missions, and most of them, if I'm not mistaken, if my memory serves me well, will be unlocked for you. The base abilities, of course, will be unlocked through Act 1. In the game, if you don't know, you probably don't know if you're watching a tutorial video. In the game, Act 1 is more like an introduction to the game. Act 2 is where you actually start the real game and the fun part of the game. Act 3 is the conclusion of the game because it's rather short and it's most of it just one very long mission. Act 4 is a grindy end game. Don't get me wrong, the grind part is actually fun because this is where you get to use your leveled up Talion and you get to do whatever the hell you want. So let's go through the skills. The base skill, first one, is called Drain. It allows you to recover health by draining life from orcs. This is the only way to replenish health actively and quickly in the game because you can't actually bend over and collect some plants like you used to do in Shadow of Mordor. Maybe that will be a feature in one of the expansions. The upgrades available are Domination, Quiver of Souls, and Bright Lord's Wrath. My favorite one is obviously, as you can see here, Domination, because it's not just about draining the orc to replenish your health. You want that orc to stop bothering you, and the best way is to dominate them. Spectral Glaive is an unbelievably good ability, but unfortunately without upgrading it in one way or another, it's more or less situational and not that useful. And the two available upgrades are Mighty Swing, Releasing the left mouse button the moment your glaive is charged generates might for each enemy hit. You want to have an option to gain might quicker, that's a good way. And this is the second one which currently I'm opting for and having fun with. It's called Deadly Striker. Double charge your glaive for more follow-up attacks. You can of course benefit from that by tapping the default left mouse button attack repeatedly. Ring Rite. Each kill gives Wrath energy. When your Wrath is full, press number 5 on the keyboard on PC to summon ghostly Gondorians to fight by your side and make your melee attacks more lethal. When completed, you raise nearby orcs from death. Okay, that's really cool, I have to admit. And the unlock that I'm opting for is called Poisoned Weapons because, well, there is no really any good reason why you should opt for poison instead of flaming weapons, or maybe even if you're level 53, cursed weapons. Cursed weapon is probably the best one, that's why it's gated behind the highest level unlock. Moving on to Shadow Strider. Pressing the spacebar while leaping to double jump allows you to cover wider gaps or change direction between jumps. This is really useful, and I have to say, as much as it's not early game material, it's really good to allow you to move quicker, and Shadow Strider with the possibility of changing your direction is unbelievably good and very agile. The movement in Shadow of War is so much better than Shadow of Mordor, and it was already good enough there. The 3 available unlocks. I've opted for Hammer of Eregion, and it allows you to vault over an Uruk and freeze them. Unbelievably good for both grunts, captains, and actually higher than captains as well. The other 2 upgrades are called Waters of Lorien and Eagle's Eyrie. Call followers. Summon a group of warriors to fight alongside you by pressing the PC shortcut 2. The available upgrades are Bodyguard. You can make a bodyguard of a dominated orc by going to the army screen, and this is actually potentially going to save your life if you call your bodyguard in a tough situation when you are fighting, let's say, several captains surrounding you or any other kind of a tough moment. The upgrade called Cluster of Spiders is gated behind a specific achievement unlock. And the last one is called Iron Guard, which allows you to summon warriors tougher than the normal one by the base skill. I do prefer to summon my bodyguard because the bodyguard does, well, the captain that I've dominated, who is my bodyguard. Especially if I modify him and upgrade him, he does a lot better job and is way more useful than just normal 3 grunts, even if they are strengthened. The last base ability, because we are approaching the end of this video, thank you for staying for half an hour with me, holy crap. This one is called Dominate Captain. Dominating a captain whose will has been broken is an unbelievably good ability, and that's another line that I've repeated several times in the video, but yep, dominating a captain is the way for you to build your army. Or captains who are higher level than you cannot be recruited. So this is really important to know. The available upgrades, first the one that I'm using, Enrage Followers, is allowing you to enrage nearby friendly captains, but it consumes Wrath. And then you can use either Lifeblood or Destroy Followers. And yes, I've done my best to go through all of the abilities and some, not all of them, their upgrades as in-depth and with as much details as possible. Of course, there would be things that I've left out intentionally or not so much, but that's why we have common system and availability for creating a discussion. So let's start it off by you telling me what is your favorite ability in the game or favorite abilities in the game. If you have watched my short video with early game unlocks and how I prioritize and how I suggest new people, new players to Shadow of Mordor to prioritize ability unlocks, do you agree with it? Maybe you should post a comment there. Anyway, thank you guys very much for spending your last 30 minutes of your life. Oh, that's so very wrong to say. Thank you for spending these 30 minutes of your life together with me. I hope that you have enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, well, you've spent 30 minutes already, so subscribe to receive notifications for everything new that I'm doing. Don't forget to turn on the bell icon. And of course, check all of the links in the video description for more information about the latest news and updates on Shadow of War from Vulkk.com, as well as written guides, blog posts, and maybe consider becoming my patron by checking out my Patreon page. Of course, follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and all that good stuff. See you in the next video, guys. Bye bye.
Thank you for watching. I hope you have enjoyed the video.